Hey everyone, welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. This is your host, Cosmic Colleen, episode 291. First, I don't know if you saw that last week came with a 2-for-1 special episode. I didn't realize that my episode from the week prior didn't post. I did what I did a month ago, if you guys remember, from Mercury retrograde, but I didn't learn my lesson. This time I did learn from it. Remember how I told you all that I now have AI, I had an option for AI on my hosting site to listen to my episode. I guess it does it in like 30 seconds when I post it, and then it writes up a description of my episode. And I realized last week that it never sent because I have to go in, read what it wrote, and then I have to post it once I approve it. So that shouldn't be happening ever again. This time I will post it as it should be. But honestly, again, I've like really refused to use AI, and this is the only thing I used it for, but I'm like, damn, that's good. Like I had said on an episode, I hate writing up a little subject about I'm a talker. That's what I do best. I talk. I actually can be a good writer, but I don't have the attention span for it. It really just like I have to super hyper focus, put my mind in there where talking just naturally comes out. Now, when I write my show notes, that's more just me thinking, and it's like, you know, I do my prayer, my meditation, and it all downloads, but that's like fun notes. Like that's writing notes that are fun for me, or my astrology notes. But then like having to write something that others then will read, that's stressful for me. And I, ADHD, but I also think I might have a slight little bit of dyslexia because I like letters jump or around, and sometimes I'll write a sentence and I literally read it normal, and then I go back because someone's like, that doesn't make sense, and I'm like, wow, I really didn't write that normal. But long story short, not going to happen again. This weekend, we are coming fresh off the Mars-Saturn conjunction, which perfected Sunday the 19th at 6:43 p.m. And just like that, we entered Taurus season on Sunday the 19th at 9:39 p.m. Here's something interesting that not everybody realizes, and I didn't even realize it until I started getting into astrology. Someone born this past Sunday in the a.m., so that's just say 9:03 a.m., they would actually still be in Aries, even though they're born on the 19th. The sun ingressed into a new sign on that day, yes, but it's a particular time during that day. And those are who I like to call true cusp people, on the cusp. Those are the people that the day the planet ingressed into a new sign, that 24 hours, those are the cusp. But particularly those people at the very, very end merging into the new sign. Now, some people like to say, oh, you're like 5 days away, you're on the cusp. You're not on the cusp anymore. It's literally within that first, transitional degree from 0 to 1 that people are on the cusp. So just wanted to share that. I actually blew someone's mind once, and it really kind of blew my mind. It was an assistant, and she was like, oh, I'm a Capricorn. And when I put her birth chart in, not even thinking, even that day, I was like, actually, you're still Sagittarius for a few more hours. So just pay attention for anyone listening who was actually born on the day the sun transited into a new sign. Double check your birth chart, or if you're listening to this, hopefully you already have looked at your birth chart. So last night, so I guess that must have been Monday night, at 5:44 p.m., we had Mercury conjunct Mars in Aries, which definitely affected my little Taurus. For those of you who know, he has a 12th house Venus in Aries. He was way more, and I like to give my kids a good description and pay attention to your surroundings and your children and learn their astrology, because you really see how it shows up in their lives. And now I can usually predict when things are going to be tough with them. He was way more combative when he got home on Monday. He was pretty chill, and he's a total Taurus placement. So, and with a Venus and Aries in the 12th house. So with this, yesterday, on Monday, the transit perfected. He started fighting literally at the time between 5:45 p.m. At 5 p.m., he started being extremely difficult, fighting, yelling, and he has this part where he's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, he has this little attitude, which is my karma. Really, for that whole hour, it really was like a big fight between him and his brother. We were driving, we were doing something. I had to snap out. So then, though, after that transit, The sun is now in his first house. So when the sun was in his 12th house in Aries, the 12th house this last month, it's always like the behaviors are there and they're not conscious yet. He just acts out more than any other time of the year during this time. But now that the sun is in his first house of Taurus, having that realization, we still have these two planets, Mars and Saturn, in his 12th house transiting. But with the sun in the first house, he used that awareness that he actually got, and he was able to bring himself down, gain some consciousness, something that he was not good at for this last month. Now he can. I hope that gives you an idea of how this plays out. And if you do have children, even for yourself, start studying the transits, and year after year, you will start noticing, depending on like where their Mars is, their Saturn, or if they have a 12th house or a 6th house, 12th house, they'll be, their issues will come up during that time. And if they have a 6th house, maybe health issues will come up during that time. But if you want to get a deeper insight, just start paying attention to your kids' charts. So the big thing I want to talk about now, the big thing of this week is that Uranus, astrologers, we don't say that because we'll still laugh like little schoolboys or schoolgirls, and so will everybody else. So Uranus, sometimes they say Uranus, leaves Taurus and will not return until 2102. 2102 is, I guess, what people will call it then. So everybody listening, we will be dead. We won't be here again after this transit. So when Uranus leaves Taurus, we won't be here again. Uranus will enter Gemini this Saturday at the 25th at 8:51 p.m. But before that, we have a conjunction of Venus and Uranus at the 29th degree in Taurus at 9:58 p.m. this Thursday. Then after midnight, 12:03 a.m., Venus enters the sign of Gemini. So what I'm saying is they're both conjuncting in the 29th degree for one last time ever in our lifetime. Venus and Uranus will conjunct again, but not in this sign. They will conjunct in Gemini. They will conjunct in other signs, but not in this sign for any of our lifetimes. So my fixed placements, you guys, for a while, or at least let's just say the conjunction with Taurus and Uranus is going to be done. I'm grateful for that, for my little Remy there. So this is the story here. We are ending Uranus in Taurus transit with a conjunction to Venus. Like I said, Venus is at home in her home sign. So I want to say this is going to bring a grounded, sudden change. It's going to loosen up something that was once very stubborn, especially for my fixed placements, and very rigid, and seems like it wasn't going to change or shift, is now loosely changed. Like, it can feel kind of shocking. There was so much stuff around me that seemed stuck, and now everything seems effortless and moving. What is that shift? Definitely my fixed placements. Be ready for that shift. That is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius placements. Life, sudden twists and turns are going to feel less unpredictable now that Uranus is moving out of the sign, and it won't be back into a fixed sign for... I guess 16 more years. So fixed placements, you guys are getting a little break from that. Yeah, about 16 more years. You're getting a little break from Uranus. So be happy about that. Uranus. If you didn't notice, sometimes I say things, and that might be the ADHD. I say things like 3 different ways at 3 different times. It's like my Mercury and Gemini. It depends on which personality is showing up, which one is saying what. So you guys, take a deep breath. There's going to be a little bit more predictability in your life, which you guys like, and you've done well, my fixed placements, with navigating the unpredictability. But things are going to feel more predictable to you now. You're going to be able to predict your life out a little bit. So Uranus is an outer planet that we look to the collective energy in a big way. And I've been reflecting a lot about what happened during these last 8 years when Uranus first entered Taurus, May 15th, 2018. And what's funny, I have a very distinct memory, like one of these memories that will not leave me. That day, a client of mine who is into astrology, into all the things, the metaphysical things that I'm into, the day she came to get her hair colored, she sat down. The first thing that left her mouth was Uranus entered Taurus. And the predictions her and I made, we really got into it. And I've been thinking over this last week, like, what have these last 8 years looked like in the collective? one of the things I remember that day her and I talked about was cryptocurrency. It had just really started, but right around 2017, I thought it started to get a little bigger. And then we saw it kind of blow up in 2018. And I remember that being a prediction. And it's still here 8 years later. But it's had very, Uranus like up and down. Uranus is very sudden, electric. It breaks through things. It changes things. It has brought so much sudden twists and turns. And we can sometimes look to Venus ruled things, or Venus for money. We will look at Mercury for money. So that is definitely something that I always thought from the beginning of 2018 that cryptocurrency was here to stay. I really have. I just don't know what that's looking like. And I actually think that's going to really, really advance from, Uranus and Uranus and Gemini for the next 8 years. I also think in the next 8 years, we're really going to see at the end of these 8 years, there being almost no cash, to be honest with you. I mean, we already see that shrinking. And I talk to people about this. I love cash. I talk to people about this. It's one time things seem novel, and then they take over before you know it. And I'm seeing that I think definitely I've said by 10 years it's going to be a cashless world. That freaks me out too. But I think at the end of Uranus and Gemini, there is going to be a cashless world. So there's some things there, monetary, and there might be even other currencies that are going to come about in these next 8 years. There's definitely going to be a lot around money, the shifts of money, the future of money. Is it all going to be AI bank tellers? Just get ready, because we thought we moved fast in technology. We are about to see our world move faster than we have ever seen technology-wise. I promise you, 8 years from now, we're going to save and listen to this episode and be like, holy shit, we're living in beyond the Jetsons. That is what it's going to feel like. So hold on and buckle up, because shit is about to just change epically. I mean, it's going to change hospitals. It's just going to be insane. So let's talk about some more predictions, because I have a lot here. So one of the things I do want to talk about is that first, having Uranus in a fixed sign of Taurus really was a tough spot for Uranus to be in. I'm actually looking forward to it being in the mutable air sign of Gemini, even though it's going to be playing with my astrology in a big way now. Uranus will be more comfortable. It's going to be trining its home sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn traditionally, and modernly Uranus. And I like to say that they definitely, Aquariuses have both of those planets ruling over them. But it's happy to be in the light air sign again. That's very changeable and shifting. It does best in air. It does best in that air sign. So it's going to be happier here, much happier here than it was in Taurus, and much more flexible than it was in Taurus. A lot of things in Taurus, the sudden changes seemed very like they were permanent. They were fixed and they were permanent. Now, these things are going to be shifting, and that's what I'm saying. The changes of the world, and now we're shifting into a world where, think about Gemini, one way you're going to think that everything is going this whole direction, and then the next minute, it's going to go a totally different direction and catch you off guard. Where here, Uranus and Taurus really was like, I'm going to be... when something happened, when something changed, it stayed like that for a while. This is going to be a whole different ball game in Gemini. So my air signs, Gemini, Aquarius, Libra, get ready, because y'all are about to get a lot more energy, but in a good way. You shouldn't be feeling tired, but you're going to have a lot more energy. So you might sleep less, but if you sleep less, you're just going to have a lot of energy. Now, all my mutable placements with Uranus there, so Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces will get a jolt of energy, but the air sign of Gemini is going to have it in the most positive way, I feel. The other mutables are going to feel a little bit like electric, all over the place, scattered, a little bit more than normal, especially my Jupiter ruled placements of Sagittarius and Pisces. So two of the hardest, and I want to still talk about the past a little bit here, two of the hardest transits that stand out to me with the Uranus and Taurus was the long push and pull square between Saturn and Uranus. Uranus, I don't know why I keep saying Uranus. Like, is that my Pennsyltucky coming out? I'm sorry. Uranus, which lasted all year long in 2021. And they had three exact squares between February, June, and December of 2021. The exact squares, but those planets stayed like within 3 to 4 degrees of their square with each other for that entire year, even a little bit longer and a little bit before. So if we can think about it, this square, this friction brought, it was between Uranus, which is radical, brand new changing, wanting to be authentic, wanting to shift, wanting to move and like take on new ways very radically and very fast, and went up against the traditional old ways. So when Uranus first entered Taurus, we really steamrolled ahead with changing beauty concepts, relationship structures, advancement in social media, even advancements on like online dating. And it's so many things are different and change. We have people in open relationships. We have the queer community. We have every community that is so wonderful and different and out there, and the beauty concepts. But it came as soon as it all really began big on social media, we just steamrolled through very fast. And even though there was a whole other group of people who didn't agree with it, they kind of were like pushed down silently and kept to the side. Well, all of a sudden around 2020 and 2021, when all of these transits started kicking up, they started fighting back. There was like a rise and a whole other side that said, actually, we want traditional ways. We want the religious ways. We want the way things were in 1950. And we hadn't seen that. And then we see that push and pull that really was the strongest in 2021. And with these two transits, and it was like two totally different sides were going at each other, and it was like, no, these are the new fast ways. This is what we're doing, Uranus. And then Saturn was like, no, we want tradition. We want traditional. We want what we know. And we saw the clash that has still been playing out, years to come. So that, I will say, I feel like with Uranus entering Gemini, and then there will be a trine to Pluto and Aquarius, the quirky, open, and different is going to win. I mean, I think it's just so different and open and quirky, and that it will win. But I think in some ways, hopefully we come to the middle. And that's with everything. I think the polarities on anything is no good. And I hope that with Gemini, that mutable energy, in a lot of ways, we sort of shift with coming back together, and we shift with agreeing, and we shift with compromise, and we shift with understanding, and we shift with like, okay, let me listen to your opinion. Let me listen to your opinion. I'm not sure how that's going to look, but I can tell you the weird, different, and quirky is going to outroll a lot of things with the future transits. The travel agent industry, which you could say is ruled by Venus as well as Mercury, but Venus in that year, those things that Venus is like the things you do on vacation, and Mercury is your movements, how you get there, what you did. Well, with the COVID shutdown, travel industry went from a literal, I'm talking now still of Uranus in Taurus, it went from being totally shut down, right? Suddenly, Uranus and Taurus, to opening back up in 2022, and we've had the most traveled years ever since then, to be honest with you, all over the world. I mean, you can't even get anywhere with social media. You can't even go to a small little town that used to know in the woods in Pennsylvania or somewhere in upstate New York now because no one knew about it. But now because the whole social media knows about it, there's going to be 100,000 people there when you go. So that has been really a lot of collective shifts that we have seen with this. It's been really fascinating for me to really look back and think, because this was a transit I was extremely conscious of. I was well engrossed in astrology in 2018. So I remember thinking to myself, like I said, and discussing what would this look like. And now looking back over the last 8 years to see how it transpired, which is really kind of fun. Uranus and Taurus challenged our ideas around sexuality. And this is the last one I'm going to share. And then I'm going to talk about a little bit of the future of Uranus and Gemini. So the OnlyFans began in 2016. But really took off in 2018 when Uranus entered Taurus. Think about it, though. Back in 2018 and for a few years after, it was literally horrible if you got caught having an OnlyFans page. You were ousted. You were shamed. People lost jobs over it. And even if you were kidless, 30, able to do what you want, you were still really shamed if someone found out that you had an OnlyFans. They degraded you. Now, 8 years later, at the end of this, it is a whole different ballgame. This one really I find very interesting. We have a strong generation, and it's really been like this over the last 3 years, I think I've seen it, of young men and women who have an OnlyFans, and these are young adults who go to Ivy League schools. These are young adults who came from good homes, not the stereotypical porn background types, okay? I read Jenna Jameson's biography, so I know all about the background of things. These are people who you wouldn't normally say, like, hey, you're going to go be a porn star and sell your naked pictures and videos and whatever to anyone on the internet in the world. Like, 8 years ago, it would not have been the people that do it today. All right. And the young people who make millions of it, which has then kind of given this idea to a whole collective. And we have literally shifted a whole collective. There's now these bop houses, which for those of you who don't know, it's a house where content creators turned into porn stars, and now they're making porn creations on OnlyFans while all living together. And these are these were a lot of them YouTube childhood influencers who, as soon as they turned 18 or 19, started doing this because they realized, oh, hey, if I make an OnlyFans, I can make millions. I might as well, transition over to this way. But again, you would have been canceled 7 years ago if you were a childhood, a YouTuber who had lots of kid fans, and then you turned 18 and you became a porn star. You would have been canceled, and now it's celebrated. And no judgment, because if I didn't have children, I would have an OnlyFans. I'd be reading horoscopes topless or something like that. But I could never do that to my children. So no shame there. I just think it's fascinating how it's gone from this 8 years ago to where it's transpired now. And it's almost like cool. It is. It's cool. It's known. It's like whatever. It's no shame if you have one. So those are just really some fascinating things. And if you have any ideas or things not ideas, but if you have any stories or ways that you've seen Uranus influence this country, please reach out and let me know. I would love to hear it. I would even add it onto the podcast. So one more little thing. This episode's going on a little bit longer than I thought, but those are some of the biggest waves I've seen this play out over these last 8 years. Now, to say a little bit more about Uranus and Gemini, Uranus entered Gemini last summer, July 7th, and was there for a little bit. And now we have Uranus and Gemini for over 7 years now. So first, Uranus will finally feel some freedom moving from the fixed sign. Like I said, it's going to love it being in air, and going from a fixed sign and now into Gemini, the mutable air sign. Uranus is taking a deep breath, a sigh of relief. I'm feeling more at home here. I'm feeling more relaxed. Collectively, this is what I predict over these next few years, and I already talked about it a little bit. So I'm only going to say a few things. I ended up talking about it earlier. One of the predictions that isn't so hard, and I had already shared a little bit about it, is AI is going to take off in a massive way, quicker than we could have ever imagined it. There are going to be great advances with mental health, and that will come with AI, but there are also going to be new or more mental health issues that is also created because of AI and how fast technology has moved. So it's going to be two coins. We're really going to come up with new ways to help the mind, but there's also going to be new mind issues because of the way we are about to just advance quicker than we have ever thought. Things are going to get quirkier, though. They're going to get a lot of fun. Like I said, technology is going to have surprising twists and turns. I do say, and I'm going to say this and shut up, I swear to you, the next 2 years, I think people are going to be fighting back and being a little bit more petty and quick and witted and smart when fighting back with technology in ways. I was reading this article about how a town, and all these towns are like freaking out that have allowed this data processing to happen for AI. And because unfortunately they went into small, poor towns and said, hey, we'll give you all this money, but let us put this AI processing center there, and people are getting sick. Look into it. Look into the wormhole. There's a bunch of stuff. But the Missouri, this town voted off every single board member of their town because they voted an AI processing data center in. So to me, I was like, that was very kind of Gemini-like. That's very quirky. People are going to be fighting back in that kind of way. So we have also a whole generation, like I said, that has been aiming to fit in. The Gen Zers, the people raised on TikTok, has created everybody to be the same. That's what they wanted. That's what it is, especially in a fixed sign like Taurus. Now, we are moving into Gemini, baby. So the new cool, the new hip is going to be being an individual again. Everybody being different. Everybody being individuals. The louder, the crazier, the wackier, the better. I'm kind of liking this. People are going to be chatting more again, and it's going to be a little bit loose. So Venus and Uranus conjunct in Taurus for one last time in our lifetime. These planets will conjunct, like I said, in other signs, but not here. So this is the beginning of a new relationship style, a breakthrough of something you could not get past, and now you will launch into a much easier future with these ideas that you, with breaking through the constructs and new ideas about how you want to have joy, pleasure, fun, love. But the final breakthrough, I think, is going to feel, and it could come in a big way or a small way, like, wow, I don't put this boundary on this person anymore. I'm not putting this expectation there anymore. I feel freer once I was authentic. I feel freer speaking my mind and speaking my truth. It's going to feel a lot like that. Well, then that will shift your relationship dynamics, your friendship dynamics, your beauty dynamics, and again, into a more individualistic, movable way. I love you all. Enjoy this transit. If you have any stories of how you've seen Uranus and Taurus show up in the collective, please reach out to me. If you also have any ideas of how Uranus and Gemini is going to look and what's going to happen, reach out to me and let me know. I will be back next week. I'm going to put this episode and I'm going to put it up correct. I love you all. Have a great day and goodbye.